This is a great pleasure, a great honor for me, a great privilege to have a man who really needs no introduction. He is now the Chief Media Officer of Real American Freestyle Wrestling. They had a very big day here in New York City. Let's not waste any time and let us say hello to Eazy-E himself, the one and only, the inimitable, the often imitated, never duplicated. There he is, the great Eric Bischoff. Hello, sir. How are you? Please come on in. Wow,
How are you, Ariel?
this is amazing. Amazing to have you in studio. Kind of surreal.
I'm glad to be. Usually, I'm in my tree house
Or in an airport.
So,
Remember that time?
Oh, yeah.
You were at a
Airport.
like a little diner or something. This is great. Thank you so much. It's a
Thank
real
you.
honor to have you in studio on a big day for the company. You've been doing a lot of big things with Real American. Is that good for you? I know you're a podcast pro now.
Well, I don't know about
you
the
and
pro
Conrad and Ant Evans. You guys are doing big things, and we'll get to some of that. But big day for you guys, because I remember when we spoke, you, myself, Hulk, Izzy. You were talking about needing a broadcast partner. That's very important. You know all about this. And today, you guys, you made your announcement. Fox Nation.
Yeah, it's really cool. You know, when one of our partners, Chad Bronstein, had been working with Fox a little bit, he goes, "Hey, I think I'm gonna have some conversations with Fox, and there's a chance we got a shot." And I thought to myself, great to be optimistic,
Yes.
but the likelihood
luck.
of that is pretty slim. But he pulled it off, and we put it together. And I can't think of a better partner for a startup like us than the Fox team, because they're the best.
Why?
They're just so good at promotion. They're so good across all their platforms. And for any producer, whether you're producing scripted, non-scripted, sports, whatever it is, to be connected with a broadcast partner that is so good at promotion, it's a real blessing.
Okay, so this is on Fox Nation, the streaming platform, right? I was wondering about this because they also recently announced a PBR deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's airing on Fox. Is this part of the sports umbrella, or is it a different team that you fall under? Because you're not on FS1 or Fox Sports. This is a whole different platform.
This is Fox Nation.
Okay.
It's a streaming platform. It's not directly associated with Fox Sports, although we're going to get the benefit of Fox Sports
You are,
and
okay.
all our other platforms in terms of promotion. But it's a Fox Nation initiative.
Okay, and first show August 30th.
Mm-hmm.
There's a second show they said in the fall, but that hasn't been announced yet.
We're going to announce it soon, but yes, in October.
Okay. How are you feeling about the way things are progressing? August 30th is in a little over a month. Getting something like this off the ground.
You had to say a little over a month.
Well,
couldn't you just said us? Wow, you got over a month to
you got
go.
like 6 weeks.
Make me feel good while I'm here.
There
No.
it is, August 30th. That feels like an eternity away.
Not for me.
No.
It feels like it'll be here tomorrow by noon.
Are you stressed?
In a positive way, yeah. I mean, look, we're promoting a live event. It's something that's never been done before. The way we're producing it and offering it up, and we're a startup, so everything we're doing is the first time that we're doing it, and that comes with a lot of stress, but it's fun. I'm having a blast with it. I embrace the stress.
Okay. The first time, like, you do all of this, at your age, you seem to be having a great life. You've talked about it. Is there any part of you that you're like, why did I do that? Why did I bring this upon? I was living good. Life was good. No one was bothering me. I was on the ranch. I'd make appearances here or there. Do I need this kind of stress? Do you ever have those moments?
No.
No.
The opposite. I miss that kind of stress. And that's the thing is, when you put it like that, I sit at the ranch and I don't have to do much, do my podcast,
Yeah.
have some fun. And that's nice. A little bit of that is nice, but I love the hunt. I love the chase. I love building things. And I'm probably happier when I'm working 16 or 18 hours a day or thinking about what I'm doing 16 or 18 hours a day than I am with not much to do.
Okay.
It's just not me.
Were you itching for something? Were you looking for that thing? I know you were doing stuff here and there, but or would you have been okay in an alternate universe?
Oh, no, there would be something.
There would have been something.
There's always a project. One of the reasons that I keep projects in development is really to keep my mind active and to keep opportunities, coming up from time to time. But, I've got a couple film projects that I've been developing and just different things that I do, really just to keep my mind active, because I can't just sit around and not do anything. I mean, that's not happening.
What's been the biggest surprise so far as you're getting ready to launch this? Something that you maybe didn't expect?
Fox Nation.
Fox, yeah,
would definitely be the biggest surprise. The other thing, and I'm not really surprised, that wouldn't be fair to say, but I'm really, really grateful for the quality of people that we've got to work with so far. I knew, I dabbled in amateur wrestling, high school, a little bit after college, so I had it was 100 years ago, right? But I got a sense of what amateur wrestlers are about because I kind of hung out with them for a while. And I think amateur wrestling and amateur wrestlers in particular they're just wired differently. And I knew that coming into this. I knew there'd be an opportunity to really find some interesting characters and interesting people. But wow, was I surprised at just how much character and personality and charisma we have in a lot of these athletes we're working with. I can't wait to tell their stories. We've done some of their packages, right? Their bio packages. And they're so good because the wrestlers are so good. They're interesting people. And when you learn about them, you really learn to appreciate freestyle wrestling a whole lot more.
I was really surprised, impressed, raised eyebrows when you guys brought Bo Nickal on board. Because to me, so it's one thing to have like the Wyatt Hendricksons of the world or let's say someone who's actively competing in the world of amateur wrestling, but here's a guy who's now making it in the UFC, so maybe someone who doesn't follow amateur wrestling as closely as someone else, but is a huge MMA fan. I know who Bo Nickal is, and I've heard of what he's done in Penn State, but now he's going to be competing here as well. That to me was brilliant. And there's a litany of guys in that world that you can bring over, right? There's a litany of wrestlers turned MMA fighters that you could bring over. The Bo Nickal one surprised me, if only because he's such a big deal to the UFC. I was surprised that they were kind of okay with him going over there, but I guess they are. All good, right?
So far?
Yeah.
I don't know if Chaz got a call.
No,
I haven't gotten a call yet.
No, it's been long enough to where I think you get a call.
And I think, I don't want to speak too much about it because I'm not real familiar with his contract, obviously, but I think within Bo's agreement, he was still able to wrestle
brilliant
outside of the UFC. But that's, one of the things I am excited about. And look, I know there's a lot of buzz out there about what we're doing, and some people have their opinions about it. But man, MMA, Bo Nickal said it best. I think he said it on your show. Freestyle wrestling, amateur wrestling is like the foundation of MMA. And I think there is going to be a lot of crossover. People are going to look at freestyle wrestling as not just that thing they see at the NCAA finals, college wrestling, I should say. Not just the thing they see at the NCAA finals or a couple times a year or once every 4 years when it comes up in the Olympics. But I think because of what we're doing, people start looking at freestyle wrestling as a combat sport. And that's the whole idea, because it is the original combat sport. And now I think because of the success of MMA, to a degree, the success of WWE and sports entertainment, I think the time is right for freestyle wrestling to get the attention that it really should get, because these people are just amazing athletes.
Are you getting any pushback from the hardcores, from the community? Because you just alluded to like some people have their opinion. Are you getting any sort of...
Oh, sure.
Really?
Oh, of course.
Why wouldn't everyone be happy about this? Because you're now giving guys an opportunity to make money and stick with this.
Well, I think the majority of the people out there are very supportive of what we're doing. People in the amateur wrestling community, obviously very supportive of what we're doing because it's an opportunity for everybody. Right. But you're always going to have your haters. And unfortunately, the haters make 90% of the noise, right? 10% of the audience makes 90% of the noise. But, you don't really pay attention to those people.
And so in 2025, is the hope 2 events? This one event August 30th and then the one in the fall in October?
We're scaling up to 12 events a year.
Wow. 2026 will be 12.
It's where we want
Once a month.
It's where we want to be.
Wow. That's a lot.
I know, right? It's fun, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. So the days on the ranch, just chilling, those are over. Are you going to continue with the pod while still doing it?
Oh yeah, I love doing the podcast. The podcast keeps me connected. It keeps me connected to people like you. I mean, that's how
of course,
and I first started talking. I really enjoy Conrad Thompson. He's a great human being, and I just get a kick out of doing that podcast once a week.
Are you able to keep up with that world, the world of professional wrestling, because that's the main topic, while you're in the trenches here?
Sure. Because most of the time what we're talking about on my podcast is kind of
The outside
Old
stuff, the
stuff.
business. Okay, yeah,
Right?
that's
It's
true.
nostalgia.
That's true.
I don't have to keep up with current stuff. Of course, I'll talk about it, headline stuff that I'm aware of. Social media, you can pretty much stay on top of what's going on in the world of professional wrestling.
Sure.
But for the most part, my show is all about nostalgia, so it doesn't require me doing a lot of prep.
September 1995. So we're approaching the 30th anniversary of the.
I know, right?
Isn't that crazy? What are we doing to celebrate?
When is it?
Commemorate this? It would be Labor Day weekend, right?
Yeah, it will be after we're done in Cleveland. I'll probably still be kind of coming down off that high, so probably take my wife, go up to Bozeman, Montana, get a steak.
So here we are, end of July 95. You would have been ramping up for this, right?
Yeah.
You would have, like, it would have been a green light. You'd, like the stress that you were dealing with then compared to this one, 30 years later, building something from the ground up.
Wow, that's a good question. How would I compare them? This one is a little, Real American Freestyle is a little bit more of a challenge because, again, there's no infrastructure. It was just like 4 guys sitting around a table 90 days ago. It was just a conversation. And now here we are, pulling the trigger and executing. So all the little things that usually go fairly smoothly when you've got an infrastructure in place and you've got a team in place and have some experience, we're starting from scratch and we're doing everything from the ground up. So it's a little bit more of a challenge in that respect, but to me, it's more fun. I think even with WCW, I took over a company, an existing company, already had infrastructure, already had staff and people. Here, we're just, like I said, we're starting from the ground up. So it's a different challenge.
But correct me if I'm wrong, maybe the pressure was greater back then because there you are trying to convince the powers that be, hey, this is a good idea, let's do this. Not to suggest that you're playing with house's money here, you want this to succeed, but there you're in the embryonic stages of your professional career. You're trying to make a name for yourself.
It wasn't like that, though.
You didn't feel that way?
No, it was actually the opposite of that. When I took over WCW, it was a company that had, I think the year before I took it over, they grossed $30 million and they lost $10 million in revenue in the process. I was told, along with everybody else in WCW, when I was hired, that if WCW didn't turn a profit, Ted Turner was going to pull the plug. So the first 2 years of me taking over WCW was really all about cutting costs and it's why I cut out the house show business.
Right.
We were doing 180 nights a year, 200 nights a year, but WCW was losing money every time they went out the door. It's like, well, why are we doing that?
Right.
So we cut out the live events if it wasn't associated with television. Made a significant reduction in travel costs for the same reason. Then once we got costs and expenses under control, then we started building and growing. But it was a different kind of pressure, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't about convincing people to do the things I wanted to do. It was literally keeping the patient alive on the table long enough to try to come up with a solution.
So that would be more pressure than what you're dealing with now.
Different kind of pressure.
Right, different kind of pressure. And I feel like I've heard you say it was your idea to go live.
Yes.
So you want to deliver on that. You want to show that this is worth the time, worth the investment, worth the gamble.
Well, look, when Ted Turner said, okay, I want you to go head-to-head with WWE, it was implied, and to win.
Right.
It wasn't just to show up and say I was competing. And when I looked at what WWE was doing, I looked at their product. They were clearly a preteen type of product at the time. If you looked at their business model, most of their money was in licensing and merchandising and ticket sales and things like that. And I knew I couldn't compete with them. If I was going to go after teens and preteens, they'd been there too long. They were too good at it. So I literally sat in my office. 20 minutes after I left Ted's office, I was in my office with a legal pad, yellow legal pad, and a pen, and I made a list of everything that WWE did well. And on the other side of the paper, I made a list of all the things that I could do differently. Because I knew I couldn't be better than them. I didn't want to be less than them, but I knew if I was different enough, I could get the audience to sample me. So,
and it worked.
And it worked pretty well.
And the thing that we remember most about it was Lex Luger appearing. What a comeback for him with the Hall of Fame this year and everything he's been doing with DDP. Could you ever have imagined this? I mean, he says it himself. 10 years ago, he did not think that he would be alive. Did you think that he would enjoy this sort of renaissance at this stage of his life?
No. And I had a very complicated relationship with Lex. I didn't think much of Lex.
Even from the get-go?
Especially from the get-go, because he was kind of a prick. And he just wasn't.
Why'd you bring him in?
Sting convinced me.
Okay.
You know,
You didn't want to?
No, I would. In fact, I don't know if you've heard this story. I'll keep it short here, but Sting, Lex had gone on to WWE, did the Lex Express thing, and I was glad to see him go because he was kind of an arrogant guy. He wasn't the most pleasant person to be around, so I wasn't sad to see him leave. And then Sting came to me one day and said, "I'd like to talk to you about Lex. Would you ever be interested in bringing him back?" And I flat out said, "No, not at all. There's zero interest." And Sting kept working at me, and I have a pretty good relationship with Steve. Steve Borden plays the character Sting.
Yes.
And Sting kept just chipping away at me. He said, "Look, just take a meeting with him. Just hear him out." So I met Lex over at Sting's house. We didn't want anybody seeing us in public. And I will admit, he started winning me over, but I just really wasn't convinced. So when it came down to it, I said, "Steve, here's what I'm going to do for you, because you're a friend. I'm going to offer Lex $150,000 a year." When he left, he was making $750,000. And if he takes $150,000, we'll see where it goes from there. And Lex took the $150,000. He was a pro to work with. He was a joy to work with.
Wow.
Completely different approach to the business. 3 months later, he was back to $750,000. But I wanted to see what he was all about before I brought him back in.
Okay, wow. What was the difference? Did he humble you? Like it didn't work out over there, so he felt like
I certainly can't speak for him, but he just came back with a more positive attitude. He was friendlier, not just to me.
Yeah.
But I mean the people around him. He treated everybody with more respect. You got this sense that he was excited to be there, and he appreciated being there. Whereas before it was kind of like he was doing us a favor to show up every once in a while. Completely different attitude, and he became a joy to work with. And ironically, we're very good friends to this day. In fact, we just exchanged texts this morning.
I see you with DDP. How are you so ripped? It's unbelievable. What's going on here? What's the secret? The secret sauce? Were you always this ripped?
No,
we just didn't know it.
No, bro. If you would have seen me a year and a half ago, I was
year and a half.
Yeah, a year ago, I'm about 185 right now.
Okay.
5'10". I was up around 225, 228, and I'm a small bone guy. I don't have a big frame. So for me, 228 is pretty chunky. And I saw a picture of myself with my grandson on my lap, and it was like, if I'm going to be around and be active in my grandson's life and be able to do things physically, what I'm doing now isn't going to get me there.
Okay.
So I just made up my mind to get in shape. And I've never enjoyed lifting weights. I've always been, I did a lot of cardio. I wrestled in high school, as I mentioned, and a couple of years after that. I was a kickboxer for a while and enjoyed martial arts. So I always kept myself aerobically in pretty good shape, but I dreaded going to the gym. It's not my thing. But I just somehow fell in love with it. So I'm in the gym 70 minutes a day, 5-6 days a week now.
By yourself or with a trainer?
No, by myself.
Wow, you just figured it out.
Well, there's a lot of information, right? You can learn a lot on the phone when it comes to working out. You find the right people to follow, and you try different things. But for me, it's been the carnivore diet, first and foremost.
Okay.
It's a carnivore diet. It's a half a cc a test twice a week.
Okay.
Just to be completely honest about stuff, because people are whack. I've been accused of being on all kinds of things that I don't even know what they are. But half a cc a test twice a week, carnivore diet, cut out pretty much all my alcohol. When I travel on a trip like this, I'll have a couple of beers or a glass of wine with dinner or something. But for the most part, no sugar, no carbs, no alcohol.
Fasting too. I always see you talking about the fasting.
I fast twice a year. I'll do a 5-day water fast twice a year.
5 days.
Yeah.
Just water. No coffee, no nothing.
Water and coffee.
Okay.
Water and coffee.
That's still pretty intense, 5 days.
It sounds harder than it really is. The first day and a half or 2 days are a little challenging. By the third day, it's easy.
Really?
Your body goes into a state called autophagy, where you start burning body fat instead of stored sugars and carbohydrates and all that. And when you do that, your body releases ketones. These ketones get into your bloodstream, they get into and they get everywhere. And you get this, it's just a higher sense of well-being and clarity of thought and energy. So by the first 2 days are tough. By the third day, it's like, whoa, this is awesome. The last time I did it on the 5th day, I changed my mind, decided to go for a 6th day.
Wow.
That's how good it felt.
Wow. Well, good for you. When you saw, by the way, that that Dynamite had surpassed Nitro for longest wrestling show on TNT, how did that make you feel?
I just chuckled. It's like a participation trophy. I guess it matters to somebody, but if you took all of the viewing audience that we had over whatever run Nitro had, I think it would take AEW another 15 years to deliver that audience at the rate they're going. So
they're doing pretty well now with the show, the 45,000 or so at the Globe Life Stadium. Was that not? That was a couple weeks ago, all in.
Was it? I don't follow it that much.
Okay.
I heard it was like in the 20,000s.
Okay, maybe. Okay.
Yeah,
Our previous guest just said 45.
But even, 20,000, that's a big number. I mean, hats off to them for that. I don't want to dismiss that.
Sure.
Put 20,000 people in a building and you're charging them money for it, that's a hell of an accomplishment.
Do you think they're doing better? It seems to be the prevailing thought that they've turned the corner, that they're having a great year.
How do you measure a great year? They had one event that did really well.
Yeah.
Their television ratings are flat. They've been losing an average of 15 to 18% of their audience every year for the last 5 or 6 years. Last week, they did like 580,000 viewers on a major cable platform on a Wednesday night in prime time. I don't know if that's really doing that well, but
stories, character development.
I don't see it. I mean, I see them trying, and again, I don't watch the product very much at all anymore. I kind of given up on it.
How long ago?
6 months ago.
Okay. You just had enough?
I just couldn't take it anymore. And they weren't making any good moves. They weren't making any moves creatively that led me to believe that they might be going in the right direction. Just not been a fan of the product or where they're going business-wise. So I just kind of tuned out of it.
Why does it seem like Eric Bischoff is public enemy number one when it comes to the AEW fans? Why do they get so riled up anytime you talk about them?
Because I express my opinion, and I do it quite candidly. I don't sugarcoat things. And that drives them crazy. I call it as I see it. I do the same thing for WWE. There's just not as much to criticize in WWE.
Right.
I mean, you can if you want to, if that's your gig. But with AEW, I've been pretty clear about the things that I think they were lacking, have been from day one. Their storylines aren't what they need to be. Their character development hasn't been what it needs to be. And it's missing the mark. They're appealing to the smallest denominator in the audience, that hardcore internet wrestling fan that just loves that, gory thumbtack, ice pick kind of matches and excessive blood and violence. And I mean, that's great. If some people like that kind of stuff, God bless you. But
is there anything they're doing right now that you like?
I haven't seen it in a while, so I couldn't honestly tell you.
What about WWE? What do you like as far as what they're doing?
Same thing. I haven't been watching a lot of WWE, mostly because I've been pretty busy. But I'm more of a fan of the business of the wrestling business than I am of anything that goes on television, right? So when I look at WWE and I read about some of the moves that they're making behind the scenes, business-wise, sponsorships, obviously the Netflix deal. When you look at their revenue model and their business model, that to me is exciting. That I like to follow. But in terms of what goes on inside of the ring, not so much.
You used to have, I remember vividly, like a Slim Jim in the middle of the mat. It would be sparingly. It wouldn't be all the time. Or even like a Halloween Havoc logo in the middle.
But I would have, Ariel, if they would have said, we want to do more, Slim Jim in the middle of the ring.
You're okay with that?
I'd take their money over long, bro.
Hey there. Sorry to interrupt. Just want to remind you, if you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button. We would appreciate it very much. And while you're at it, give us a thumbs up too. We've got live shows, interviews, clips, and a whole lot more going on this here channel. All right, now back to the show.
And I'm guessing that for Vince, having a sponsor in the ring with the brand was just a bridge too far for him. Because I'm guessing he felt that perhaps diluted the WWE brand.
Do you feel that way?
I'd take the money.
Yeah.
I'm a whore.
You think we see him pop up?
Vince?
Yeah.
I think he wants to pop up. It would be hard for me to wrap my head around anybody embracing Vince McMahon right now on a business level. Doesn't mean it won't happen. I just think that he's going to have to get this civil suit behind him, let the smoke clear for a little while, and then perhaps. But I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
You know, when we had you and Hulk on, there was a lot of heat afterwards for, you know, some of the questions I asked Hulk regarding the booing in LA and all that stuff. You're very close. You make no bones about that. He's a good friend and a business partner of yours. Has that been challenging at all? You know, let's be honest. There are some people who just don't like him or who don't want to accept him or offer, you know, any sort of like, hey, here's an olive branch, you know, all is forgotten. Has it been tricky? Has it been problematic?
I think the best way to say it is it gets awkward at times because I feel like I want to defend him because he's my friend and I know him. I know his heart. I know who he really is. So personally, that's a little challenging from time to time because I'm a fairly outspoken person and I got to check that once in a while. But again, it goes back to that 10% of the people make 90% of the noise. So many people still react so positively to Hulk. You know, you look at what's going on with his beer. You know, it's just, he's killing it. The brand is killing it. He's got his own sports bar going in across the street from Madison Square Garden. So the brand itself is very, very strong because 90% of the people out there dig him and respect him for what he did. But you've got that 10% of the audience that are going to be haters and they're going to be loud. And you just have to deal with them and not let them bother you too much.
So obviously today would be a good example of it not being an issue. Has it been an issue at all with sponsors trying to get this off the ground or with signing guys? Has it been a roadblock in any way, shape, or form?
It's the opposite.
Opposite.
It's the opposite. It's open doors.
Wow.
I think that Fox
That
Nation...
surprised you?
Does it surprise me?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I bet on it.
Yeah.
Always have. It was the same thing back in 1994 when I brought Hulk to WCW.
Right.
So, he's never going to work. He's old news. He's too old. He's washed up. Steroid this, steroid that. And I'm thinking, yeah, I don't think so. and we were right then. Look, all right, to be honest, do I think Fox Nation would have done a deal with Eric Bischoff and Chad Bronstein and Izzy Martinez? Not without Hulk Hogan attached.
Mm-hmm.
It opened doors for us and still does to this day.
How involved is he in the day-to-day?
Day-to-day, not so much. That was never his intention, nor ours.
Yeah.
Hulk brings so much awareness and a spotlight and a megaphone to everything that we do, and that's what we really wanted to leverage. To be honest with you, we wanted to leverage that value. But, he's not involved in day-to-day.
So in major promotions, UFC, you'll have Dana White up there. Back in the day, you'll have Don King, Bob Arum, Vince. I think you're a great frontman, but he's also Hulk Hogan. Mm-hmm. So will you guys do press conferences where a guy will be there at the dais and be on August 30th, you need to watch this?
Absolutely.
And is that you or is that him?
Both.
Both of you?
It'll be me, it'll be Chad, it'll be Izzy Martinez.
Okay. So there's not one singular person who's sort of like the mouthpiece for the company.
Nobody designated at this point. It may person may evolve, over the next 6 months or a year, 2 years. But as of right now, we haven't designated anybody to.
Do you think there needs to be just one? Is it better if it's just one voice?
I think eventually it would need to be one voice, but right now, not so much.
Okay. We just had someone in studio, AJ.
AJ.
Oh yeah, you saw him.
I know AJ. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Top Dollar from back in the day. Now in TNA, and you have a history with them as well. They're enjoying a renaissance.
I was just telling Chad, my partner Chad Bronstein, on the way over here. I was texting back and forth with Carlos an hour ago, 2 hours ago, and I reached out to him and said, "Hey, congratulations on what you did. They had a big night last night." Great turnout, and they're making a lot of smart decisions. I remember when Carlos came on, they made an announcement when Carlos came on. And I was like, okay, we'll see what happens. But they're making they're growing incrementally, right? And they're doing it almost quietly. Like they're not out there thumping their chests and talking about taking down the competition and all the, the crazy stuff that, for example, AEW did in the very beginning. They're just quietly going about their business, producing great shows, bringing in great talent, and getting involved with great partnerships, and they're growing their business. And that's the part that excites me, watching a business grow, especially a wrestling business. Got a little bit of an affinity for it.
Yes.
So it's been fun watching TNA grow.
It's been shocking somewhat for me because I felt like they were almost dead a few years ago, right? It just felt like they were going nowhere, that they had no momentum, and now all of a sudden, 7,600 at a big arena last night. The deal with WWE has obviously been beneficial, but it just seems like they have a ton more momentum than maybe 3-4 years ago.
They're one deal away from being a major player.
Wow.
If they get a broadcast partner, if they get the right broadcast situation, because they've got the product, they know what they're doing. There's a good team of people. They just need a bigger platform. And if they get it, watch them take off.
Are you surprised by this? Did you think they were dead?
I'm surprised by it.
Yeah.
I wrote them off a long time ago.
It felt like they had, there was no sizzle. It was gone.
There was no sizzle. There was no steak. There was no plate.
There was no nothing.
There was no pan.
Yes.
There was no anything.
Could they, at some point, pass AEW? They'll never get to WWE. Let's not get crazy. But do you think they could be number 2? Do they have what it takes?
By this time next year.
You think so?
I think so.
This time next year, Eric? Really? It depends on the TV deal, though, right?
Depends on a TV deal.
If the TV deal isn't a big one, isn't a great one, that will be tough.
Damn near impossible.
Right. But you feel like they could do it this time next year.
With the right television partner.
They're number 2 this time.
What's number 2? By what revenue, by what measure do we define a number 2? But I think in terms of television ratings, popularity, yeah, they could be number 2 in a minute.
What are they doing right that you think AEW is not doing?
They're just doing the basics. They're doing the basics and producing a show for the mainstream wrestling audience, not for that 10% hardcore sicko that everybody thinks is a cool demo, because it's not.
It stuck with me. I had Matt Hardy and Jeff in studio a couple weeks ago, and I was kind of on the wrong trajectory. I was like, hey, why do you think WWE's doing this deal with TNA? Isn't this weird? Isn't this different? He's like, let's be honest. They're trying to hurt AEW. That's what they're trying to do. Let's just call it what it is.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No. I think what they are trying to do is position themselves to not end up in another antitrust lawsuit, another monopoly lawsuit, by supporting being in business with other organizations. I think it was kind of like a cover your ass kind of legal strategy as much as anything else. But everybody, people want to create a war, right? They want to make it feel like there's a war between WWE and AEW because everybody remembers the Monday Night Wars, and it was a fun time. It's one of the things that I think resurrected the wrestling business back in the 90s, and people long for that kind of battle and competition back and forth. But it doesn't really exist in real life, so they look for ways to try to make it seem like a war. I really don't think WWE spends a lot of time thinking about how to compete with AEW. I really don't. I think they go about their business. And I think the deal with TNA was just another example of them doing the right things so that they don't end up in another MLW type lawsuit.
Them purchasing AAA, what did you think when you heard that?
I didn't think too much about it. I haven't been paying much attention to AAA or anything that's been going down in Mexico. Obviously aware of it. It made sense to me. It certainly makes a ton of sense to me. And I think it's a good thing for AAA. There's some stability now in AAA, financial stability. And as a platform, a much, much bigger opportunity and a much bigger stage to play on. So it's good for AAA. It's good for WWE. It's great for the talent. It's a win-win-win situation.
If someone would have offered you a very similar position to the one you have now, but pro wrestling, we're going to grow. We have the right investor. We've got Fox Nation, the same thing, but it's the pro wrestling business as opposed to the freestyle wrestling business. Would you be into it, or you were done with that?
No, just because I've done it. The thing that excites me about Real American Freestyle is this is something I've never done. It takes all the experience I've had and the things that I've learned, the hard way in some cases and learn from success. And now I get to apply it to a completely different animal, right? going back to do something that I've already been doing for 30 or 35 years, it's hard to get excited about.
It wouldn't light the same type of fire.
No, not
This
at
is a
all,
new
because I've
challenge.
done it.
Right.
I've done it, so I've already been there. I like new challenges.
This might be a tough one off the top of your head, but is there one that you wish you could do over? One decision?
Ariel, welcome to the first 24-hour episode of the Ariel Helwani Show.
That many, huh? That many.
Of course. You can't go through life, especially in business, especially, running a company like I did, in the entertainment business, and not wish you had a couple do-overs. Of course there are.
Is there a glaring one? Is there a one at the top of the list? What was I thinking?
I think this isn't going to be the answer you're probably looking for, but there was a point in time in August of 1998 when I got called into a meeting with a bunch of executives I'd never met before. And I got into this meeting. Now keep in mind, 1998, my division was printing money. We were killing it from a revenue perspective, and we were stomping a mud hole, as they would say in the South, in WWE and Vince McMahon. So in that context, I get called to a meeting in a room full of people I'd never met before, executives, who proceeded to go around the table and they introduced themselves, and then they would each proceed to tell me how they thought I should run WCW. Now, this is pre-merger. These are some of the executives from Time Warner coming over. This is them getting their hands dirty, so to speak, in Turner Broadcasting at the time. And I remember sitting at that table and I was thinking to myself, why am I even here? Who are you people? Why am I sitting here? And there was one guy at the end of the table. His name is Joe Uva. Ended up being one of the most powerful ad executives on planet Earth. But back then he was just head of Turner ad sales here in New York. And he asked me a bunch of questions. It didn't make any sense to me. So I looked over at him. I said, Joe, what night of the week is Nitro on? Now, the name of the show was Monday Night Nitro.
Yeah.
That was the technical name of the show.
Yeah.
So I said, Joe, what night of the week is Nitro on? And he paused just long enough for me to make a point. The point being that nobody in that room ever watched the product, other than maybe had seen it on tape.
Right.
Wanted to evaluate this new property that they have. They didn't understand the business. They didn't understand how WCW got to be number one. And they certainly didn't understand why doing some of the things that they would want me to do would have taken us right back to where we started from. In 1998, Joe Uva, in particular, wanted me to be family-friendly wrestling. You mean go back to teen and preteen?
Right.
That wasn't working. We were an 18 to 49-year-old demo. We were killing it. We were smoking that demo. But they wanted me to take my eye off, to take the focus off that demo, and let's figure out a way to tell really good stories for the family for wrestling. It's like the dumbest idea in the world. Sorry, Joe, but it was pretty stupid. And I knew right then, I didn't have the experience in terms of mergers and acquisitions and things like that, so I didn't have a frame of reference, but instinctively, I knew that we were heading in the wrong direction. And I went home at the end of that day. I told my wife, I think I'm going to resign. Pretty sure I'm going to resign. And I thought about it overnight. Maybe it took me 2 nights, and I decided not to. I wished I would have.
Wow.
Things would have been much different.
Wow. How so?
Because I wrote it out. I'm a very loyal person, not almost, to a fault.
Right.
I was loyal to Ted. And I didn't understand the machinations of what was going on behind the scenes. So in my mind, I still work for Ted Turner, and I was loyal to Ted. I was loyal to a guy by the name of Bill Shaw, who hired me in my position, and my immediate superior, Harvey Schiller, was the head of Turner Sports at the time. I was very loyal to them. And the idea of quitting is just, it's a hard thing for me to do anyway. I just have a hard time saying, okay, I quit. That was part of it. And the other part of it is I just didn't know the extent to which AOL, Time Warner, was going to go to get WCW off the books.
Wow. I didn't expect that, but a fascinating answer. I'll let you go in a moment, but I did want to ask you, last week we had Bill Goldberg on the program. I know you say you don't watch the product as much, but he seemed very upset about the way his retirement match.
I saw that. I saw him on the show, yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes and no. My first thought is I would like to know why. Because for example, did they go over in their match? I mean, you have a finite amount of time when you're doing a live show and you have to get commercials in, right? There are no overruns for the most part. So did Bill's time get cut short because the match went too long, or was the match before him? Was it a timing issue? I'd have to know why it happened before I could really pass any kind of judgment on it.
Overall, though, Surface, I was surprised that he was that upset. I can understand why you would be upset. Hey, I wanted to speak for 3-4 minutes and I got 40 seconds or whatever it was. But I thought the walkout with Doug Dillinger and some of the other characters, his son, I thought the fact that he got a main event on NBC, I thought he would have been happy.
Don't you think it's kind of a big damn deal? I mean, I was shocked that he was upset because to me, without knowing how he felt and what was going on behind the scenes, I'm thinking, wow, they did him a righteous. I mean, they basically served him up on a silver platter for the fans. You know, the build-up, the Doug Dillinger thing. I mean, they gave him a lot. I understand he didn't get the promo that he wanted at the end. He didn't get to say his goodbyes the way he wanted to. I understand that. But if you look overall at what they did for Bill Goldberg.
In Atlanta, too.
In Atlanta, I think they were pretty generous.
Yeah. So that's what I was saying. I was surprised that he felt that. I had no idea that he was going to come on and say that. I thought we were just going to reminisce. It was great. Now I'll move on with my life. I didn't expect that tone. I didn't expect that feeling.
It was disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately my thought was, who am I to say to someone else how they should feel? Who knows what he had planned or had talked about behind the scenes? But I thought overall on NBC, not a lot of guys get a send-off like that.
I know a couple hundred of them that would have loved that opportunity.
Right. Especially not a homegrown guy, right? He was never a WWE guy per se. To get that, I don't know. I thought it was pretty good.
I did too, Ariel.
Yes.
I did too.
All right, so Real American Freestyle Wrestling, August 30th, Cleveland, Ohio.
Fox Nation.
There it is. Look at that.
Love it. I love that graphic, by the way.
It's brilliant. $7.99, right? A month, I think it is.
Yeah.
And no pay-per-view required. Once you're a subscriber, you'll get this.
And there's a lot of great stuff on Fox Nation. I mean, I got it a long time ago. So
okay.
A lot of great stuff there. If you like documentaries.
Yes, they just added PBR as well. You've got Chael Sonnen a part of the team. Kurt Angle a part of the team. I believe Bubba Jenkins as far as the broadcast team is concerned.
Yep.
So you guys are making all the big moves. Bo Nickal, Wyatt Hendrickson. Unfortunately, it seems like Ben Askren is a little bit tied up at the moment.
Yeah, he's maybe the next. Yes, maybe the next one.
Yes. But what a scene it would be if he could show up in some way, shape, or form down the line. Because I know he was very excited about this.
Yeah, I talked to Ben just a couple weeks before he got sick.
Okay,
I did an interview with him on my podcast, and he's such a fun guy. I was really looking forward to working with him. And I think we're going to try to do something with Ben.
Good.
I think we're going to send a crew up and spend some time with Ben and get to know Ben on camera, so at least he can have a presence on our show.
That would be incredible. Well, I can't wait. I wish you guys the best. You, Chad, Izzy, Terry, as they say, Hulk. Am I allowed to say Terry? Am I part of the inner circle?
Absolutely.
I don't know. It seems weird for me to say.
No, he loves you. You're
okay.
Good.
All right. I appreciate that. Thank you for coming in. Congrats on the big news.
Thank you.
And looking forward to it. We will take a quick break. We'll be back with Dustin Poirier. That's Eric Bischoff, the legend himself. Do not go anywhere. Thanks for watching this video. Before you go, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us. Also, give us a thumbs up, leave a nice comment. These things go a long way. And while you're here, do check out the rest of the channel. We've got live shows and full interviews, clips, and a whole lot more. We're doing big things here, and we appreciate your support very much.